Okay, so light bulb fan here. Making a video on a computer I got quite recently, a couple of days ago. Um, and some of you may recognize this machine, and um, some of you may recognize this machine from one of the videos done by a YouTube channel called Peter C, or also known as Pedro. And this is indeed the same machine. I corresponded with him about this machine, and basically he ended up sending it to me for my, basically you could say, computer collection, although I don't have that many machines. Um, um, yeah, I just thought I'd do a couple of videos, because I got a couple of operating systems running on this machine. And I also got it because, as I'll show you here, it has an AGP slot, and since I do deal with old Macintoshes, and when I want to flash a video card with a Mac ROM, technically it's not a BIOS since Macs use open firmware, but to flash NVIDIA cards, and particularly picky ATI cards, I need a PC, because you can't flash PC video cards in a Mac. But that's one of the other reasons I got a hold of this machine. As you can see, I haven't done much to it. There's a 10 gig hard drive in here. I'm not sure who made this actually. There's no label. The label's blank. I fitted this USB card, which is a 4-port external, 2-port internal card. The slot loading DVD drive that was in this is a bit sad. It would boot from a CD, but it would give read-write errors. I need to run a cleaning CD or clean the lens somehow. But I haven't got around to do that because I didn't have the necessary hardware to do that. But so I've just fitted a optical drive. I pulled out my MDD. You've seen that in a previous video. So yeah, I've got a wireless mouse receiver here, a keyboard. I got power, Ethernet. Just to cover some details, Peter C might not have covered in his videos. The Ethernet controller in this, I believe, is the it's the 8139. I think it's made by Realtek, or Realtek 8139. So it's really, that chipset is ubiquitous. You know, I mean, works on every operating system under the sun. So yeah, turn it on. I don't have the side panels on because I've been just working in this a bit, and airflow. It's pretty warm in London today, and this is a P4, though it's only a Northwood. This is a 2.4 gigahertz Northwood Pentium 4. It doesn't support SSE3, just SSE and SSE2 along with MMX and all the other instruction sets. So without further ado, we'll see what operating systems we have on. First I'll show you the first one, so we'll turn it on. Blue light comes on, everything activates, and we have an LCD monitor here sitting on top of a Power Macintosh G3 beige. And we'll get comfy, and as you can see I have Windows, hang on, let's get this in focus. I have Windows 7 on here, Windows 7 32-bit professional. When you boot it up, it's going to say, you'll see in the corner about here, it says this copy of Windows is not genuine. I used a, where is it? Okay, it's somewhere else, but at some point Microsoft had direct download links to Windows 7 ISOs, and so I have a DVD I burnt with that. Now normally that works fine. I just click skip on the when you enter a key and you get like 30 days to activation. But I think what happened was when my time got reset, that confused Windows and caused the activation to think it was a pirated version of Windows. Because what happened when I was setting it up, it got the time wrong, and it said it was 2002. The BIOS here defaults to 2002, and I had just set it forward to 2015 roughly, and I think I was ahead by a couple of days, maybe a week or so. So when it finally time synchronized, it thought it was an unlegit version of Windows. But before that happened, it was just like normal. It's like Windows without activation. You know, normal Windows, just without a key, and it tells you to enter it in 30 days or something. But I'll log on here, and you'll see what I mean. I have this is running Windows 7. So the onboard graphics, which is the Intel, the 845G, is not fully supported under Windows 7. Well, there is some acceleration. There's no official Windows 7 drivers. The drivers from XP work just fine. As you can see, this is what Windows is complaining about. It doesn't bother me too much. I'm probably not going to keep it on here for too long, but I'll just ask you later. As you can see down there, you'll see what this copy. Okay, straight off the DVD. So what can I say? Anyways, as you can see, here we are, the desktop. Got some applications installed. Let's just set the background something a bit better than just bleak black. Personalization. The classic theme works best on this kind of hardware. I find. So we'll just go down here. Windows Classic. Ding. And I'll delete it. So anyways, let's have a look at the system, shall we? So I'll first of all bring up CPU Z, so you can look at the processor in more detail. Just click yes, and it's loading. There we go. As you can see, it is an Intel Pentium 4 Northwood socket 478. You know, the usual with a 2002 era Pentium 4. This is just after the Willamette core. I think you say it that way. But before the Prescott. The Prescott's added SSC 3. The Northwood just has SSC 2. This does mean that Windows 8.1 is not officially supported on this machine, but there are ways to get Windows 8.1 supports doesn't need SSC 3, but it does need NX bit or execution disable bit, which you can which is there to prevent certain types of malware from executing due to something, I think, a buffer overflow. But anyways, Windows 8.1 will spaz out if it doesn't detect NX bit, which this processor doesn't have. But there are ways to get around that, and I'll be doing that at some point. Just the 9 gig hard drive in this thing is a bit limiting in that regard. And I have a 40 gig IDE hard drive in here, but it's in here for a reason. I can't format it, unfortunately. But anyways, so as we can see here, it's an Intel Pentium 4 Northwood, 2.4 gigs, 2.4 gigahertz. 533 megahertz bus. I think this motherboard supports Prescott, but I'm not sure. I don't have a Prescott CPU to try. Well, I have one in LGA 775, but not PGA 478. But yep, we can see the motherboard, memory, and we'll get to graphics and GPU Z. So I'll close that. Open up GPU Z. And click yes. And as you can see here, 845G, or i845G. Interesting, it's the same manufacturing node as the processor in this computer, which is pretty cool. 130 nanometers, which is the same as the PowerPC 970. Anyways, that's a nice bit of trivia. As you can see, it's really basic. I mean, there is driver, like I said, the XP driver, but it's basic. But it works. Without the driver, you doesn't detect the display. It's just a basic fallback frame buffer driver for Windows something, which only gives you like 1024 max XGA resolution. But yeah, as you can see. Pretty basic, not very fast by any stretch of the imagination, but it works. So yeah, got Chrome installed. Let's just go to this machine, and we'll go to computer, and we'll right click on properties, and you'll see here that it has, you can see Intel Pentium 4, CPU 2.4 GHz, 2.4, 512 megs of RAM, 504 usable. That's because some of the memory gets used up by the integrated graphics on this machine. As you see, and you can see it's got a really low Windows Experience Index of 1.0. That's due to the graphics, as you can see here. Processor 3.2, memory is 2.9, desktop performance surprisingly for Windows Zero, which this doesn't support, so I'm kind of confused. This graphics doesn't support Windows Zero, but this is 1.9, and 3D business and gaming graphics is obviously 1.0, which gives it this score. Hard drive was actually quite good, to be honest, considering it's a 10 gig hard drive that isn't branded at all, so God knows where it's from, how old it is, or whatever. But anyways, so that's that. I have Geekbench 3 on here, which is all programs. Should be here somewhere. Geekbench 3. Let's open this. I'll click yes. As you can see, it's launching. Let's run Geekbench 3 on here. Later. In Geekbench 2 on Windows XP, this scored, I think, 997, I think. But we'll see how it does in Geekbench 3. So you can see, Windows 7 Ultimate 32-bit, Intel Pentium, Intel Award ACPI. About this machine that I forgot to mention, but this is basically a shuttle clone. It looks very similar to shuttle systems, and I think the motherboards are swappable. But this isn't made by Shuttle, it's made by some OEM company. So I still call it a Shuttle, but it's technically a clone of one. So yeah. That's that. Funny enough, it detects the RAM as 1 megahertz for some reason. So that's fun. Let's run the benchmarks. This might take some time. So let's see what happens. Running benchmarks. Gathering system information. And let's get it in focus. There we go. And I will resume video when this is finished. Okay, so here we are, 7.5 minutes later. It's almost finished. We'll watch it finish and upload the result to my Geekbench account. There we go, and there it's finished. It should be opening Chrome, as you can see. Just gonna take a couple of minutes, probably. Until Pentium, well, not minutes, but it takes time. And Chrome can be quite resource heavy, I've noticed. Hard drive's clicking away like mad. Reminds me of my old Fireball. Quantum Fireball, that is. The original hard drive for this machine, if you're wondering. And there we go. Just close that secondary tab. And hope this thing loads. There we go. Okay, it's loading. And here we go. It's been added to my account. And as you can see, it's quite interesting. One thing I just see, this CPU doesn't support hyperthreading of any kind. It's interesting, the single core score got 615, but the multi-core score got 613. These two should be identical in theory. That's pretty interesting if you ask me, because this is just a single core Northwood CPU. Anyways, as you can see, it's loaded. And it's got yeah, it's pretty cool. As you can see, Phoenix Technology. There's that Intel Award to ACPI. And we'll just go to my account. Go to Profile. We'll compare this to the XP result I ran in Geekbench 2. It's loading. We'll just go to Geekbench 2. As you can see, it's right here. We'll click on this. As you can see, Geekbench 2 and Geekbench 3 scores are not compatible. They're not equal to each other. So yeah. As you can see, same machine, same processor. This has got 986 in Geekbench, 2, and you got 615/613 in Geekbench, in multi-core score in Geekbench 3. So that's the benchmarks run. I'm not going to run any graphics benchmarks because, to be honest, I tried to add that on the Windows XP and this thing shut itself. A driver crashed and glorious 4-bit mode. But so I'm not going to try that on the Windows 7. But now that I've got Windows 7 out of the way, I've done some tests on Windows 7 that long. Let's have a look at the second operating system I have installed on here. Well, on a USB stick. So we'll shut it down. So how long it takes to shut down. Boop, boop, doop, boop, doop. There we go. Desktop is closing. Logging off. This is about the time where I get impatient and just turn it off by the power switch, but let's not do that. I'm just clicking. The side panels are here, by the way. It's taking an awfully long time to shut down. If it starts saying Windows updates, then I am literally just going to turn it off by the power button. We're not going to sit through that. Jesus, it's bad enough on a proper machine. Any time now. Come on. It's cooking like mad. It's doing something, so. Okay, if it's not going to. Oh, no, there it goes. Just as I was about to turn it off. It's gone out. Okay, so. With that shut down, I'll show you my, my secondary operating system for this, which is connected through this USB cable, which is just a USB extender, connected to a USB stick down there, because that USB stick is too big to fit in the front USB ports, and it doesn't play nice with the ones at the back. So yeah, we'll turn it on. I've got this to boot from USB first. I'll show you the operating system. Intel Pentium 4. And some eagle-eyed view, and as you can see, I have. This is Mac OS 10. This is Tiger, in fact, really old version of Mac OS 10. Tiger 10.4.1, which is a developer preview of OS 10 on Intel. As you can see, and I'll boot up in verbose mode, which is -V, which is diagnostic messages. As you can see, it's gonna it takes a while because the USB ports on this particular machine, are in USB 1.1 mode till an operating system takes over. They are USB 2 ports, but the BIOS only runs them in 1.1 mode until an operating system takes over. So it takes a while to get past this point, because right now this is the BIOS loading it, the bootloader. Once OS 10 takes over, or Windows XP, or whatever you've got on a USB stick, it goes much faster. But yeah, we'll sit here and wait. should be almost loading by now. It should start loading the kernel cache. Yep, the extension.mkext. That's the kernel cache. See what I mean by USB 1? Well, USB 1.1 is very slow, fortunately. There we go. It's loading. 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 Should be almost done by about now. Should be. The magic words. So how long it took down to shut down Windows 7, or so how long it takes, and here we go, it's starting to boot, and as you can see it's booting in verbose mode, and it's already found the boot disk, here. As you can see it's loading, it's going much quicker because now it's in USB 2.0 mode. I need to change over the keyboard to this USB PCI device, USB PCI card, because the onboard USB doesn't detect human interface devices while under OS 10 for some reason. But here we go, as you can see it's loaded the dock, and I've got, as you can see, I'll just show you about this Mac, and as you can see, version 10.4.1, Intel, Pentium 4, CPU at 2.4 GHz. Now this particular version of OS 10.1, 10.4.1, it was the build used on the very first Intel developer machines, which were released in 2005, which ran Intel Pentium 4 CPUs. These were used because Apple was transitioning from PowerPC to Intel at the time, and they wanted developers to be ready for it. So they sold development machines. And to get this installed, I managed to find a really old Hackintosh distro, which was quite a rare find considering this software is over 10 years old. It's like no longer on the internet. So yeah, as you can see, no applications run. Well, applications in Rosetta will run, but Intel applications will just crash, apart from native apps. And as you can see here, see what I mean? Apple development platform ADP 2.1, Intel Pentium 4, and you can see CPU features. It doesn't have SSE 3. OS 10 requires SSE 3, but there are patches to get around that. So yeah, system profile. I will go to ATA. As you can see here, that's the hard drive, and that's the DVD drive. Firewire works. There is 2 Firewire ports. Graphics and displays. Now, the OS 10.4.1 is the only version of OS 10 to support the Intel 845G graphics, which is really surprising considering no Mac shipped with graphics this old. The Intel developer machine shipped with GMA 900, which is i915. But there are kexts, as you can see here. There was a lot of work involved in finding the right kexts to get this working. But the Apple Intel 830 for the 830 chipset also supports, the 845, obviously 855 and 865, I believe, etc. But yeah, so I installed these kexts, and it enables full display detection, as you can see, and it enables Quartz Extreme and OpenGL. It doesn't support core image just because this card just doesn't have the supported features for core image, just like an ATI Radeon 9200 won't. But yeah, it's really quite smooth actually. As you can see, I can move windows nicely. I got PCI memory first, as you can see, and PCI cards. The USB card shows up multiple times. This is the onboard firewire, which is detected in PCI slot 2. even though there's just one PCI slot. I guess that's the internal name for it. And the same for the Ethernet, which is PCI slot 1. As you can see here, 8139. Yeah. And there's obviously USB. So yeah, that's OS 10 running on this machine. You can get later versions of OS 10 running, but you need an AGP card for that, because no version of OS 10 above this one supports this integrated graphics. So yeah, I did run OpenMark on this machine. I did have to run it in Rosetta, so that might affect it, but here you go. It scored 373. This is actually a graphics benchmark that sort of works. This is a graphics benchmark that PowerPC users use to evaluate how good their graphics cards are. It's also a native Intel application, but it, like I said before, it will just crash. I had to open it in Rosetta, which is PowerPC emulation. But as you can see, this is what it got. It got 373, which is just a bit above an ATI Rage 128 would score, thereabouts. So yeah, as you can see, Intel i8-i845 engine, which is OpenGL engine. So we can close that and quit. As you can see, internet does work, even though this version of Safari is horrendously out of date. It does work. There aren't any Geekbench versions that will work on here, unfortunately, so I can't show you that. But yeah, so here was a look at this Pentium 4 machine, which I got off Peter C. I'll put a link to his channel in the description below, wherever it is when you're watching this video. So yeah, here's a final overview of the machine. And so yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. Lights out.